E.T. goes home. The stars twinkled in the night sky as E.T. sat in the backyard, gazing up at the moon dot. It had been a long time since he crash-landed on Earth, and though he had made wonderful friends, especially Elliott, he knew deep inside that his real home was far, far away. One evening, as E.T. wandered through the forest, his heart began to glow. It was a sign. His people were coming back for him. Elliott and his friends knew what this meant. It was time to say goodbye. The journey to the clearing. Elliott, his little sister Gertie, and their friends worked together to get E.T. back to the place where he first arrived. The government agents were still searching for him, but they were determined to help their alien friends return safely. Riding their bicycles under the starry sky, E.T. and the children raced towards the open field where the spaceship was supposed to land. Just when it seemed they would be caught, E.T. used his magic touch, lifting them into the air, soaring over the trees and out of danger. As the spaceship descended in a beam of golden light, E.T. turned to Elliott. His big, glowing eyes were filled with emotion. He reached out a long, gentle finger and touched Elliott's forehead. "I'll be right here," E.T. whispered, placing his hand over Elliott's heart. Tears welled up in Elliott's eyes, but he smiled, knowing that E.T. would always be with him in spirit. With one last look at his Earth friends, E.T. stepped onto the glowing ramp of the spaceship. The door closed, and the ship rose into the sky, disappearing into the stars. Elliott and his friends watched in silence, their hearts full of sadness, but also joy. They had given E.T. the greatest gift, a way home. The end. Would you like a YouTube description for this? Write it a little bit longer. Checked. E.T. goes home. The night sky stretched endlessly above, dotted with stars that shimmered like tiny lanterns in the darkness. E.T. sat in the backyard, his large eyes reflecting the moonlight. It had been a long time since he crash-landed on Earth. He had learned so much about this world, about kindness, laughter, and friendship. He had come to love Elliott, Gertie, and their family. But deep in his heart, he knew he didn't belong here. His home was among the stars. One evening, as E.T. wandered through the forest, a familiar warmth spread through his chest, and his heart began to glow. It was a signal. His people were coming back for him. He ran back to Elliott's house, excitement and mixing sadness inside him. Elliott understood immediately. It was time. The race against time. Elliott, his little sister Gertie, and their friends knew that the government was still searching for E.T. They had to act fast. The spaceship would land at the clearing where he first arrived, but they had to get there before it was too late. With no time to lose, they grabbed their bikes. The wind rushed past them as they pedaled through the dark streets, dodging roadblocks and flashing lights. Agents were everywhere, trying to stop them. Just when it seemed like they would be caught, E.T. raised his glowing hand, and suddenly the bikes lifted into the air. They soared over the treetops, high above the chasing agents, with only the moon as their witness. Elliott felt his heart pounding, both from excitement and the ache of saying goodbye. The farewell when they finally reached the clearing. The spaceship was already descending, its golden light bathing the forest in a warm glow. The air hummed with energy. E.T. stepped forward, looking at the friends who had risked everything for him. Elliott stood in front of him, his eyes filled with unshed tears. "You don't have to go," he whispered, though he knew it wasn't true. E.T. reached out his long, gentle finger and touched Elliott's forehead. "I'll be right here," he said, placing his hand over Elliott's heart. Gertie sniffled, holding out the red flower pot she had once given E.T. He took it carefully, smiling in gratitude. Then, with one last look, E.T. turned and stepped onto the glowing ramp of the spaceship. The door slowly closed behind him, and the ship began to rise, drifting higher and higher until it became nothing more than a shimmering light in the sky. Elliott, Gertie, and their friends stood in silence, watching the stars. Their hearts ached, but they also knew that they had done the right thing. E.T. was finally home. As the last glow of the spaceship faded, Elliott placed a hand over his heart. He could still feel E.T. there. The end.